So we asked the question before the break, what is the Titans' deepest position group going into training camp in a month? Mm-hmm. And I feel like you've got some options here, and there's one position specifically that I'm going to bring up after you guys give your thoughts that is an underrated one that Pro Football Focus recently gave quite a bit of praise to.
Okay.
In their position rankings of every position group across the NFL. But Kayla, we'll start with you on this one.
Yeah.
Based on what you've seen at practice and just the moves this team has made over the offseason, where does your brain go first when you think of deepest position groups on this Titans roster?
Well, because we've talked about one person specifically, but not the group as a whole, I think running back position is definitely got to be one of the deepest positions on this team. And I think that's maybe not where your brain will first go because we've talked about this as well. Yeah. It's the position that's a little bit underrated, but not on this team and should never be underrated, at least how they continue to use that running back position. And now you're kind of seeing these backs, at least what we've seen so far in OTAs and minicamp. Like, I think they're going to be involved in the passing game a little bit more. Even a guy like Tajay Spears, who's new, we're seeing his ability to be a natural pass catcher. And they've been working on a lot of that without going into detail because we can't. Yeah. But then you still have your guy, the king, Derrick Henry, is still doing things for this team. As many carries as he's had, even after the foot injury, he's still the king. He's still number one. But now you got Tajay Spears. Let's not forget about Hassan Haskins, who I still think has a lot of potential to do some good things for this team. Ramon has harped on this time and time again. Don't count out Hassan Haskins. And then behind him, y'all, is Julius Chestnut, which we forget about sometimes. A guy that has done stuff, who has shown some good moments, who can come in at any given time and maybe, fill in if there's an injury or whatever. Like, that position is freaking deep.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you on that one. Running back don't really register a whole lot.
It doesn't.
Most times. No, but you're right. And Kayla, to your point about Chestnut being on this team, we have seen injuries come up or be in a situation where it's just not working for a guy too. And to have that type of depth is huge, especially when you got good bodies too, right? Really good point. Mine, probably most unlikeliest thought, and I hope I'm not stealing your thunder, Will, is quarterback.
Oh,
quarterback
interesting.
Is the deepest, one of the deepest positions for this team, and it's for this reason. You have your starter in Tannehill. You also have a second-year guy, Malik. We've all heard and you've seen, Kayla, a lot of people a few of his teammates have said he's a lot better than he was the year before. So you have him with experience, and you also have a guy like Levis too, right? And I say to myself, how good is the NFL team? An NFL team is as good as his backup quarterback if you have to see him, because the moment it derails and your franchise guy's out, your season is done. Everything about it is done. They took Levis in the second round this year for a reason. Again, I know the videos we've seen of him overthrowing stuff and just being in the position was like, oh, that was ugly. The 3 interceptions he had, I think, at an OTA or something like that. It's like, okay, that's fair. He's a rookie. He's a rookie. It's supposed to have those type of moments, and it's best to have them now than to have them later.
Sure.
The reason I put him as deep as this, though, you actually have the idea or the opportunity this year to keep 3 quarterbacks on this team. And I don't think this team has done this. I actually went back and looked at it. And 22, it was just Malik. How fragile was that? And you got Dobbs late. In 21, again, the 2 years before that, Logan Woodside and Kevin Hogan. How confident were you in those guys? Not a whole lot, respectfully, guys. Don't take that personally if you listen to us this morning. And 20, you had Logan again. 19 may have been one of your best years. 19 and 18 may have been one of your best years as overall quarterback health, because you had Marcus Mariota and you had Tannehill. Marcus was in shambles by that time, so you really weren't that good at quarterback then. You only had one guy again, Tannehill. And then at 18 was Blaine Gabbert and Marcus. How you feel about this? This group, as it stands, with the potential that it has, I think it's probably the better depth positions for this team and across the league in general, aside from who's behind Patrick Mahomes. Nobody even really knows at this point, right? Who's behind Russ?
It was Chad Henne.
It was.
Right.
But nobody knows who's the backup guy. Again, I would go quarterback for this team in this unlikely position, but if Tannehill's out, you at least get to see what Malik is either made of, or you go straight to Will Levis, who they think highly of.
I would say I agree with you in terms of comparing it to what they've had in the past, because I just don't think Logan Woodside, and no shade to him, I just don't think anybody was ever convinced that he was really truly a backup that could come in and win games, right?
There we go.
I think now you're looking at Malik Willis in year 2. You've seen some things that he's done in the offseason. He's worked with some quarterback, type of coaches. Yep. So it looks like he could possibly take the next step forward if he is even the backup. Because if it's not him, it will be Will Levis, because of the fact that they've seen great strides in training camp for him to get to that position. So I'd say it's definitely better in the past, Ramon. I still think I need to be convinced that those are solid backups, that they can actually come in and win games. But it is a step above what they have had. Absolutely.
I struggle with quarterback only because of what Malik did against Houston when they needed him to come in and win a game, and he had 99 passing yards and 2 interceptions.
That's fair.
Because I think, honestly, Logan Woodside might have won that game. Because he probably wouldn't have thrown 2 picks. I mean, we don't know that.
Right.
But to me, I don't mind having a backup quarterback that's a game manager who knows the NFL. I think the argument you could make, playing devil's advocate to the point you make, Ramon, is that you're going to have to change the offense for Malik Willis versus what you're going to do for Ryan Tannehill. Now, Will Levis, jury's out. We don't know what Will Levis is as an NFL quarterback yet. We barely know what Malik Willis is as an NFL quarterback. I view depth in, can I do the same things with different people? And I don't know if that's the case at quarterback. Granted, there are unique challenges that come with quarterback that you're not going to face at linebacker, and you're not going to have at corner, where there's more nuance, I would imagine, to just setting up the entire offense where everything is based off you at the quarterback position to a level where some other positions, you're not as important as the QB. So I understand there's nuance to that as well. But for me, I mean, Malik Willis doesn't have 100 yards passing in a single game in his career. That's true. I mean, he was 14 of 23 for 99 yards and 2 picks against Houston. I thought about QB. I'm not saying you're totally off. I think it's a fair argument.
Yeah.
Because they have more bodies at the quarterback position who you could genuinely say have ceilings as starters in the NFL. How high Malik's is, jury's still out on that one. But I do believe in my heart of hearts that Malik Willis, with the right OC and the right head coach who could build an offense around his skill set, he could be a starter in the NFL.
Yeah. I'll say this too about him coming into games too. I've had numerous mobile quarterbacks I've played for in college or played with in college and in NFL. The OCs do get excited whenever those dudes do come in because that gets them off their playbook. That gets them off their schedule. So I do think there's a portion of the playbook devoted for Malik, and you will expand from there. I saw it with Schaefer. I saw it with Dennis Dixon. I saw it with all kind of other quarterbacks I played with in the NFL that were more mobile type of guys. And coaches do like that for a certain amount of time, though, too. Sure. So, yes, the growth of Malik has to be a thing. His ability to not lose time inside of the pocket and get blasted by a defensive end must be something we see in the preseason early and often, Kayla.
Sure.
For me, I think it's defensive line, and I don't think it's particularly close.
I think that's the definite solid answer you'd go to.
Granted, I think running back was my other one, Kayla, that I was going to mention is the one we don't think about a lot.
Yeah.
Because you do have 3 guys who I think genuinely can be legitimate ball carriers in the NFL. Hassan Haskins, I'm less confident on than you guys are, but I'm still willing to give him the benefit of the doubt to make that second-year jump behind an offensive line that's supposed to be better. But when you look at the defensive line with Jeffrey Simmons, Danico Autry, Tier Tart, and Naquan Jones, who are the known commodities within this thing, Tyler Shelvin, Jaden Peavy, Shakai Brown, Jaleel Johnson, Curtis Brooks, the back end of the roster in this thing, we have enough proof of concept of less brand name defensive linemen becoming legitimate players in this league under Mike Vrabel and under this Titans staff. We saw it last year with DeMarcus Walker.
Yep.
We saw it with guys who came in as nobodies, quite frankly, respectfully. And left with legitimate contracts in other places. And I think the development of Tier Tart helps them as well. I think the other element of that, too, is just the versatility of that group. I think Arden Key is going to be a guy you see play next to Harold Landry a lot. and next to Rashad Weaver. And you have Rashad Weaver who stepped in as kind of a 4-down lineman in that big nickel formation that they love, the kind of the 4-2-5 look with the extra safety on third downs. They're so multiple on that defensive front that I think just the multiplicity of that front as a whole makes it the deepest group, because you can look so many different types of, you can look a lot of different ways up front defensively. I think it's almost so deep and so good up front that we get bored of it and just look elsewhere.
Yeah, no, I think it's easy because in at least the past couple of years, that's been a really solid group. Even when there's been injuries, like you said, they can plug and play players that they kind of bring in and say, let's just hold it down with these guys, right? And give Terrell Williams, the D-line coach, a lot of credit. I watch the D-line out there in practices a lot. I watch the way he coaches. Like, I think he's able to utilize the guys that he's brought and plug and play them successfully. Because it just seems like that's the part when you have an injury there, you feel confident in whoever's going to step up next.
Yeah.
For the most part. You can't lose them all, but
I will say this too, as far as the D-line goes, you know how certain teams are known for certain stuff. Like Kansas City's known for like their receivers and skill, right? You look at the Eagles and they're known for their O-line, D-line, and having a tough group, right? Yep. Houston, probably running backs. They always have or find one. Miami got an explosive guy at all times. They always have. The Titans have always had a D-line. They always have. And even in the years that they were down, like they were a headache to go at simply because it was a no-die type of situation always with this team, and they just went hard. Like that Tennessee's tough stuff really resonated on the field, and I hated it. I'll be completely honest with y'all. We knew like when we played the Titans, like, yeah, we can win this game and feel confident about it, but it is going to be a headache. I absolutely hated those. I loved it in the spirit of competition, but Jarrell was one of those dudes that just went, and you'd be like, how the heck did you do that? And then it wasn't just him. It'd be a guy behind him and be like, dude, who are you and why are you doing all these moves too? It was always it's always a thing in Nashville to have a D-line.
Sure.
And that's a good place to be because you get everybody else rallying behind them, then you can win. And I think that's why, to me, it's good to put Jeff at the forefront of what this team identity is. And that it's forever been that way. Always has been. I don't care if it was Rakpo. I don't care who it was across that D-line. Vanden Bosch always had a guy. And that's always been my MO when it comes down to the Titans.
They were the Tennessee Tyrants for a reason. I mean, you think about those of us that have grown up watching this team forever. Running back and defensive line. It's what they've always had. It's been a tough, smash mouth, grinded out football team. Now, I think the next evolution of the Titans is to be a little more creative on offense, obviously, but still keep that same identity. But it's why I was never totally nervous about the Jeffrey Simmons negotiations like I was with the A.J. Brown one. Because Jeffrey Simmons is more pivotal to the identity of what this franchise has been and what it feels like it's still going to be in the future. PFF did rank the Titans in the top 10 defensive lines in the NFL at 10th. Writing interior defenders Danico Autry, Tier Tart, and Jeffrey Simmons all graded among the top 25 players at their positions. Titans also signed Arden Key, of course, who had a breakout season last year, and are getting back Harold Landry. I do think you can count the outside linebackers in that too.
I think they say it themselves. That's part of it. They've said it themselves. So.
And I know that's a little bit of a different position group, but the Titans, although they are a base 3-4 defense a lot of times, are in that nickel set more than they're in anything else. And in today's NFL, everyone has to be a nickel because you have so many Tyreek Hills running around and fast receivers that you got to cover.
I have a quick question for y'all, and this is just me personally. The 2017 defense starters for this team, they got to go down as probably one of the better groups this team has had in a while.
Underrated.
I'm looking at it, and
you got to name them.
Daquan, Sylvester Williams,
Jones,
Jarrell Casey, Derek Morgan, Wesley Woodyard, Avery Williams, who I thought was going to take off in this league.
Avery was still good when he was good.
A good cover linebacker.
Yeah.
He was. And then a Rakpo, a Dory, Logan Woodside, Jonathan Cyprin.
Logan Ryan.
Logan, my bad. Jonathan Cyprin, and Kevin Byard. That 17 team was full of youth and a lot of vinegar.
Now Arakpo at that time was kind of fading a little.
Not to us. You still had to watch him. No, you're right, but you still had to watch him.
Him and
No,
Derek
you're right,
Morgan
though.
both.
There's some, him and Derek were both fading a little, but you're right. That was, defensively, they had some big
team
hitters.
was way better than 9 and 7.
Defense was. That was in the middle of Mariota purgatory.
It was a headache, y'all, to deal
Injury,
with that defense.
Mariota.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.